r/ProRevenge. Posted by user, Mr. 010. Fire me before I quit? I ruin your life. Since I'm still in school, I took a job at a bakery of types which I won't name. The place has bread in the name but also sells overpriced salads and sandwiches. I worked there for close to a year, where I had this boss named Betty, not her real name of course. Betty and I didn't get along whatsoever. She had gotten the previous general manager to quit, because she had an affair with him and she threatened to tell his wife if he didn't leave. He quickly left the job and she was promoted to the position. I didn't like her, but I have to respect the dedication to being the general manager of a small store. When I first started working there, I was respectful, but she would do things that would get on my nerves. For instance, I would clean all the places I would be hired to do, and once I was done, and relaxed for maybe 5 minutes, she would run out of the manager's office screeching, "Why aren't you working?" I would tell her, of course, I did my job, and as a cashier, if nobody is there to help, then I didn't have anything to do. She would glare at me, then I would see her accidentally drop an entire pot of brewed coffee onto my freshly mopped floor for me to clean. So I learned quickly to always look busy. Once she realized I was not going to kneel and kiss the ground she walked on, she started dropping my hours. The store ran on a Game of Thrones type politics for who got promotions and raises. Somehow all her friends were managers and would bully the rest of us. She was barely at work. She would drive to my job, clock in, just in case corporate decided to check her hours. So she was essentially stealing hours. When you clocked in, it printed out a small piece of paper telling when you clocked in. She would just drop them on the floor for me to clean up. I would usually pick them up and stick them into a pocket. So this led to me finding Betty clock in and out stubs in my pocket at my house. This will be important for later. Did I mention she was super racist? She was white, and most of the staff were my fellow high school peers who were all mostly people of color. One day at work she walked out and told us, "When you're on the clock, I own you." When we all reacted to look at her, she backpedaled and was like, "I didn't mean it like that." This will be important for later. So after a while, I got sick of practically begging for hours, so I went to my current job. But decided I merely wanted to drop my hours, which were already barely a day a week. But suddenly when I got my new job, she scheduled me every single day of an entire week. She never did that even when we were on semi-good terms. So I obviously told her I had a new job and couldn't do this. After that, I went home and called my friend, who was still working there, to tell him I was going to quit tomorrow. He has a bad habit of putting his phone on speaker when he's cleaning at work. So Betty overheard this obviously. The next day I walk in and go through the respectful motions of saying, "Thank you for the opportunity" and blah blah blah. Betty let me get through the entire speech before she said, "Oh, yay, I was meaning to tell you. You're fired." I was so blindsided and pissed, I cussed her out. My mom raised me to treat women with respect, but this fucking fat overweight hippo looking bitch pissed me the fuck off. She's the type of girl to think binge eating was a personality trait. So I left and was mad about being fired before I could quit, but didn't push the issue. I'm only 18, and I already had another job. I wasn't expecting Betty to give me a good reference anyway. I would have completely left it alone if it wasn't for the district manager Ben, not real name, texting me. The revenge. He thought I was still working there, so I explained to him I was fired. He was stunned due to the fact that I was a decent employee. He asked why she let me go, and I explained it to him and he was angry. He clarified that she fired me before I quit, and I said yes. He was pissed that she did this, and asked if there was anything else she might have done. I kind of just vented to him for a bit. When I told him about the racist remark, he asked if anyone else would collaborate with me. I forgot to mention that she slowly fired and forced people to quit and replace them with her friends and family. Which according to company policy she couldn't do. Something about conflict of interest. I asked all the people who were working that day if they could, and a few said they would say they did. But one did even better. My one coworker Andy, is convinced he's the next big vlogger, so he always has his phone out, or just using audio recording for hours, for a chance to catch a funny clip. I've watched his content and let me say it's just super cringe. But turns out he labels each recording by the day and times. So when he checked, he found her making racist remarks. I got a brilliant idea, and with my other fired or forced to quit coworkers, we decided to scour Andy's recordings. We found some great moments of Betty saying controversial things or just being nasty. Like once a guest sneezed on the baked pastries, and when a coworker told her, she laughed it off and said nobody would know. But this wasn't enough for me. I try to avoid conflict, but when I'm in a situation I'll follow it through. I looked her up on Facebook and found out she was married. Nobody knew this, so when she had the affair with the other manager and basically blackmailed him, she was also married and cheating. I don't think anyone ever cared enough to find out, because she was a nasty old lady. So I found the old manager's Mark's Facebook and found out he and his wife were separated. Turns out even after he quit, Betty was still trying to blackmail money out of him. When he didn't, she told his wife anyway, causing his wife to divorce him, and basically leave him to go back to live with his parents. I did some research, and in my state blackmail or extortion is a third-degree penalty, which has a max of 7 years in prison, with a fine over $10,000 to the victim. So I told the old manager what my plan was for her. He agreed to call the cops on her, but I asked if he'd wait until I finished my part first. He said he'd give me a week. So I met with District Manager Ben and showed him all our evidence, the recordings, and the written statements from my other ex-coworkers and people who were still working there. I also gave Ben the slips of paper when Betty clocked in and then left, and returned 8 to 10 hours later to clock out. Ben thanked me for the information and then I left. A few days later, while walking past the store, I noticed it was closed in the middle of the day. I texted a guy who still worked there and he told me everything. Turns out Ben first checked the security cameras to see if she was there for the full time she claimed to be. Big surprise, she wasn't. So Ben decided to investigate the store's expenses, since if she's lying about her time, what else could she be stealing? He found out she was stealing money from the store. The guy didn't fully explain how she was, but just that she was. Turns out she was breaking a lot of health and safety codes and used the money for repairs and etc. for herself. So she was fired immediately along with all of her minions, and that left barely anybody to run the store. They shut down to clean up the store and fix things she didn't make. So she's out of a job, and Mark told her husband, with photo proof, that she cheated on him. But Mark phrased it so it seemed like she still was. So Betty's husband flips out and decides to divorce her, and Betty is the type to post everything on Facebook. So she's begging someone to let her stay, but all of her friends and family totally bailed on her. So she was living in her car looking for a job. That's when Mark decides to sue her for extortion, so she scrambles to find a lawyer, and to make it even worse, the company decided to sue her for all the money she stole, plus all the repairs and lost revenue while the store is closed. Betty's life is shit. She had to sell her car for drastically under what it's worth to pay for all the legal trouble. Mark told me bits and pieces of her crying in the courtroom, but not too much. I was never super close with him. Last I heard of Betty is she was living with her sister, who definitely hates her. To think she would have avoided all of this if she just let me quit. Edit: I'd just like to answer a few questions most people have had about the validity of the story. First of, I didn't have a good relationship with Betty, so there would be no reason I would ever look her up online. Besides, I don't even have Facebook, so I had to actually look her name up to find it. Next is my friend accidentally recording her racist remarks. Don't most of you know that one friend who is sure they're going to be famous or is obsessed with their online image? He's like that, and it gets annoying when he thinks every moment is a photo opportunity. Next is the timeline. Not all of this occurred as quickly as I stated. I had to cut some parts out for the sake of the story. You wouldn't want to read basically a filler arc in a Reddit story, right? TLDR, my manager fired me before I could quit, so I got her fired, divorced and sued for extortion and fraud. Posted by user, Bureau. Was 5 minutes worth 30% of your global market? So I used to live in Deutschland, and upon returning to fair Blighty, the UK, I began looking for work. Being a simple man of simple needs, I quickly found employment in the marketing department for a medium-sized industrial manufacturer. It was a little below my experience level and qualifications, but I take what I can get, because I am a simple man. At the final interview, I mentioned it would be top banana if I could arrive 5 minutes early and leave 5 minutes early on most days, so I could catch my train. With a smile, my new boss, hereafter referred to as Mentirosa, said of course, it's only 5 minutes and I'd still be working the full 8 hours. Sin problemas, Bureau, and welcome aboard. My first day comes, and I ride the choo-choo all the way to my new workplace, eager to begin. I quickly learned that the lunchroom is pure stank. Senior staff put their name instead of mine on any trade article I get published, and that our job mostly consists of extorting money from our own sales staff, but that's life. I am a simple man, and so I set about my labors, glad to earn a crust. What really flogged my noggin, however, is La Mentirosa calling me into her office on my second day, and telling me I can't leave early again because it is unprofessional. I remind her of the conversation we had, in which she said, with her mouth, the words, "It will be no problem for you to arrive and leave 5 minutes early." She smirks and replies, "Maybe I said that, but is that written in your contract?" Touché, you big ol' Mentirosa, touché. I shrug and get on with life, because that's life, but of course, I start looking for other work. By making me stay the 5 minutes, La Mentirosa makes me miss my train and turns my 2 hours daily commute into a 4-hour one. Yet, I do not want this. I am a simple man and need my downtime. About 2 weeks later, the company goes on a firing spree. One of those people fired is me, because I have been quite openly looking for other work. I am given 2 weeks' notice and smugly told I am not good enough for this place, and that I will never work in the area again because of La Mentirosa's contacts. As she Snapchats this news to the rest of the team, I joke not, I reflect that she is probably right, as I am a simple man. Among the other victims of the purge is the regional sales manager for Germany. This is more important to the company than my meaningless departure, since the company also decided to end the contract with their biggest German distributor, and so suddenly a huge part of the company's core market is not active, and they have no salesman to find them a new distributor. Management panics until La Mentirosa remembers that her despised marketing bandit is a fluent German speaker, and so the fun begins. She asks me to step up to the plate. "Be a buddy, ol' pal, I didn't mean it when I said you'd never work in this town again." I am a simple man, so rather than point out that I am not being paid anywhere near what I could earn as a translator, rather than remind them that they have just fired me, and I am not their friend anymore, rather than asking, "Is it written in my contract?" and then smirking like an obnoxious dingwall on a high horse made of douche, I instead swallow my pride and agree to help out. It is here that the twin revenges, named inadequacy and abandonment, make their entrance. Firstly, inadequacy. During every conversation, I mention my job title, advertising assistant. When the friendly Teutons politely ask why a lowly assistant is negotiating this kind of deal, I simply explain that the regional manager was let go and there is no formal replacement. This is entirely true, but is also a huge red flag for any serious company, especially well-established German manufacturing firms, and combined with the temporary uncertainty regarding Brexit, which had been announced only a few days prior, was enough to kill any interest they had in becoming our next distributor. Secondly, abandonment. As I am a simple man, I forgot to tell La Mentirosa that I had already received, and accepted, another job offer. She was thrilled at the praises she was getting from management, for finding a stopgap solution to the catastrophic damage they had done themselves, and she asked me if I could actually stay on with the company until they secured a new distributor, since I obviously had nothing better to do with my time, being fired and all. I assured her there were no hard feelings over my firing, and that I would stay to help as long as I could. On the day I was originally due to leave, I held my calls, drew up a summary of where we stood. It was effectively a sad emoji, followed by a poop emoji, handed it to La Mentirosa and explained I was leaving to enjoy a week of holiday, followed by starting a new job in a different field. She sputtered. She couldn't believe it. She thought I would stay longer to help clean up the mess. They still had no distributor and no sales manager for Germany. They were hemorrhaging money. She called me out, reminding me that I had said I would stay, but I am a simple man, and so my only reply was, maybe I said that, but is that written in my contract? TLDR, manager lies in an interview, then fires me and threatens to badmouth me all over town. Then asks me to stay past my notice period and help clean up their foul up. Instead, I am honest with their potential clients and leave abruptly. The company goes without 30% of its turnover for at least a month. P.S. The company survived, La Mentirosa ended up being let go, and I spent several fantastic years at the new job, so didn't ruin my career. If you liked these stories, hit that like button, and leave a comment below. You can upvote these stories by pressing the links in the description. If you want to hear more stories from me, hit the subscribe button, and press the bell icon to be alerted when a new video is posted.